There's been a break-in. Get me the Buttercream Gang. I'm gonna go grab the Buttercreamers. We'll be right back. Sit your ass down
I
and
need you to stop using. I don't accept the terminology buttercreamers. Just call them the buttercream gang.
Buttercreamers.
You're getting too comfortable with that word. Like,
Welcome to Talking to Tomatoes, the podcast where we talk about the fundamentalist Christian-ish children's media that we stop. Oh no, sorry, I can't say that. It's Pride Month. I was gonna say stop
yeah,
voting.
nice try.
Happy Pride Month, everyone. Welcome to Talking to
Happy Pride.
Tomatoes, the podcast where we talk about fundamentalist children's media we grew up on, not only for its quality, but for the pernicious propaganda behind it. I'm Eric Eberly.
And I'm Jubilee Pride Alexander. So,
The
Eric, how are you debasing yourself for the queer community? I mean, being an ally.
I've seen this joke flying around about how, like, during Pride Month, your dungeon master can't kill your characters, so you can, it's do whatever you want. And I'm like, well, we've got a game next week, and basically everyone in
I want to
my
cartwheel down the dragon's throat.
everyone in my D&D group except for me is queer. So yeah, that's me being an ally, I guess. So we are continuing with the second part of the second Buttercream Gang movie, a feature films for families movie about the titular Buttercream Gang, and this is what movie is called, what's it called, The Secret of Treasure Mountain.
Secret of Treasure Mountain.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
A
yeah. So
secret that
this is
everyone in the entire town seems to know about.
yeah, and 30 feet. It's at 30 feet inside of a fairly obvious cave, and then yeah. Well, we'll get to that. So we made this. We decided to break this up into a couple episodes because we spent almost an hour of recording time talking about the first 20 minutes of the movie, and we're like, we can't. There's too much goes on in this movie, but
Which is
just
not something we usually say about the media we're examining. It's usually
yeah.
like, God, we gotta try to find a way to squeeze something to talk about or something interesting out of these bad old Odyssey episodes.
Yeah. I'm thinking Odyssey becomes a part of what we do rather than the default, because I am
Yeah.
having way more fun going over these movies like this than anything else. But quick to catch anyone up who hasn't watched any of the other videos we've done on these Buttercream Gang movies, they're extremely cheaply made movies. But the plot of this one, the Buttercream Gang is a gang in the city that in this teeny little town that does good things, community service kind of stuff. And the plot is the local storekeeper has lost his livelihood due to a heart attack and has to sell his house. And the boys, going off of a local legend and then eventually a map that one of them finds, there's gold in them there hills, and we gotta find it. But the map is cut up into pieces. So what do we do next? But before we get back into the plot, there are two new characters that we actually haven't touched on basically at all so far. Two new members of the Buttercream Gang, Eli and Jesse. So in the first movie, the Buttercream Gang is very explicitly like a boys only club, which they're 12. It's sort of like, yeah, treehouse, no girls allowed. Kind of at the end of the first movie, it's more or less implied that they're opening things up because one of the other characters, Margaret, is super helpful in the process and, sort of becomes an honorary Buttercreamer. And then, again, we talked about this last time, not explained how one sort of becomes initiated into this club, but we have two new characters. One of the things we sort of wanted to point out, but it's kind of not really our place to analyze this because it's not our world, is that both Eli and Jesse are people of color. and that is something that was
Something that was completely absent in the first one.
literally what I was about to say.
They had Chicago gangs were a big part of the thing. Not a single. I like you have like two frames of this gang that looks like it's mostly white boys wearing different styles of hats.
Yeah,
There might have been one or two, but there were no. The it is not like in the early 90s the Chicago gangs that they're worrying about is explicitly the black people that are so scared that are like that scare rural America so bad.
yeah, and
um
they couldn't find anyone, I guess. Well, because these movies, I actually looked it up. The park, the national park or national recreation area that they were going through is in Utah. So yeah, we were right in that assumption. But yes, it's a extremely white movie, extremely blonde movie as well. Kind of
I mean,
unsettling.
this is a again, in case you weren't watching the first one, this is Mormon cut. Like it's Mormon coded because it's made by specifically a company that makes LDS themed movies.
Eli and Jesse, they both kind of are, again, we have the core three Buttercream Gang people. Even Margaret is really, even though she's from the last movie, she's not really like core. And as Lenny always keeps pointing out, and we'll get
The
we'll get to
elders
Lenny
of
in
the
a second.
child church, if you will.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so these two characters are sort of helping out. Eli kind of tags along more with the boys, and then Jesse and Margaret are like hang out a lot. Again, sort of causing this weird. I guess they're part of the Buttercream Gang, but they almost they don't hang out a lot together. They don't like sit around and have meetings together as a club. I mean, they don't do that anyway, honestly. Right after the whole Devar's got the map and or shows them the map and is like, "Oh, it's not a treasure map." Eldon's like, "Well, I know what I have to do." And then we cut to just such a bizarre sequence of things. It's Eldon trying to raise the money, which I think we might have mentioned previously that he's making a lemonade stand. But one of the other things that's sort of happening, they're doing like a fundraising day in the park, the whole gang, is Jesse and Margaret are running these like rollerblade races where you pay some money to try to race Jesse, and everybody's losing. I think it's they say something like 10 or 12 races in a row that she wins. I don't know. It kind of seems like a weird. Well, I mean, I guess it's not really. Hang on. I just realized I was making a bad assumption about the game that like they only get the money if Jesse wins. It's like no, this is a donation thing. You pay the money for the race, and then if you win, you get to say, "Hey, I beat the champ."
Oh, I honestly, for some reason, I was sitting here thinking that it's like child gambling.
Now, although
Wait,
speaking of
but
child,
Scott tries to. Wait a minute.
right, which that doesn't make sense because then why is Scott trying to beat Jesse when the thing if you're just gonna donate menu, don't donate the money. If you're just gonna donate the money and then throw the race or whatever. But it starts this weird section that doesn't really come up again that much, where Lenny is crazy sexist. I mean, Scott a little bit too, but it's mostly everything is kind of spearheaded by Lenny, where he's like, the fact that Jesse, a girl, is beating everybody, especially boys, is a problem. We need a ringer. And Scott, Mr. Athletics, gets roped into it in just a wild way where he and Lenny walk up to the girls. Scott is in his rollerblading gear and is like, "Okay, Scott challenges you to the speed skating championship of Elkridge." Why can I never remember the name of this
Sure,
town?
Elkridge.
Uh, and then Scott turns to Lenny and goes, I do challenge her." And it's like, dude, you put on your rollerblades and walked over here right after having this conversation with Lenny. I mean, I guess we're supposed to assume some time passes because this is intercut with scenes of Eldon trying to make money selling lemonades. and little kids keep coming up and giving him puppy eyes, and he just gives them
This whole
get, get,
section is just there's just this endlessly pointless things. They need they don't say how much money they need, but it's like can't be under tends to again rurals wherever the hell they are, probably tens of thousands of dollars. If you need to save a house, you're not doing it with hundreds of dollars, which is still not even close to what they're raising. They
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about raising like $75 or something, and again, it's like there a world like this where there's nothing wrong with children like learning about community and coming together, but it is like a laughable amount of money. Even if it was thousands of dollars, they would be like, "That's very sweet, kids. This actually isn't going to pay 10 years of property taxes on my farm."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and again, like you just said, if this was just, oh, isn't that sweet? They're trying to save, and then it's like, oh my gosh, you found the treasure, or whatever. That would be one thing. But this is the Buttercream Gang. They succeed at things. They aren't lauded for their attempts. They are lauded for their success. Anyway, so and the in the process of yeah, it's good for such a short movie to have this much pointless stuff, and to have the treasure hunt doesn't start till like an hour into the movie. Like that should have been here. This should have been the start of a treasure hunt. They do this race a very what do you want to say? It's a rollerblading race. While Eldon is distracted by this race that apparently goes like through neighborhoods and stuff, while Eldon is like looking sideways and just passing lemonade off to everybody who walks by, without giving it a thought. And then Scott loses, which, as Scott said, boy, it would be humiliating to lose to a girl, sort of a thing. And then we come back to Eldon being like, "Where'd all my lemonade go?" Which I only caught this on my second watch through, when what I forget, was it somewhere in the speed skating thing, they have like a booth set up to be like it says like race the champ $3, and I think it's the boys are doing sort of a walk and talk past it, and as they do, a child walks up to the booth, slams some money on the counter, and then turns and walks away. Which I think is part of what, maybe I had actually seen that or noticed that, because that gives the impression that he of somebody paying his bookie or something, because he did, because again it says race the champ $3, so he's not in rollerblading gear. He's not like okay, when do I get my turn to race the champ? No, he just slams some money on the counter and walks away, which was very funny to me.
Yeah, there's this big money cul-de-sac, and it goes nowhere and means nothing.
Yeah, because right after this scene, they're in the treehouse.
There is a very funny joke in there where again it's this laughable amount of money for theirs, where they're like I raised $45. Fine, in early '90s, that's a decent amount of money for a kid, like for a summer. But like this is like to save a house. But Eldon's like, well, after all the expenses, and they're actually this really good back and forth timing where someone goes, Eldon, how much money did you make? He goes, well, when you do all the calculation, Eldon, it's like, I lost $7.
Oh
I
yeah,
lost
because
money.
then one of them's like, "How is that good news? How could that possibly be good news?" And he goes, "I thought I lost 8."
But
which,
very
which
good, honestly. Well
that
done,
made me
good
laugh.
writing.
Like we said, this scene makes no sense plot wise, and it's Lenny's basically only contribution to the film. It's Lenny being Mr. Red Pill, basically being like, "Oh, we need someone to take those girls down a peg because they keep beating the boys." And oh, but we have to make sure that that the boy wins, because otherwise it would be humiliating. It's kind of sort of implied that not just through athleticism, but like through the fact that the boys raised -$7 and the girls raised 30, 40, some amount of money that was many times more. This weird thing of theirs where they're being wildly sexist. Oh yeah, because Lenny keeps going, you're a buttercream et, putting a lot of stank on the word because it's a pejorative term. You're not a real buttercreamer, you're a buttercreamette. Yeah, the treehouse scene is that treehouse scene is very weird because there's a lot of like, I mean, there's just this odd camera work where there's like this one shot that's set up where the girls are being like hoisted up on like a rope and pulley system, and we have this shot of where they're going to rise up that holds for several seconds before their heads just come up above like the edge, and then we cut away, and then we cut from cuts to it is a very weirdly edited chunk. um Considering some other weird stuff that happens, I started to wonder if maybe they're actually filming in like a treehouse rather than like they've rebuilt some sort of set somewhere, and they're extremely limited on like where they can fit a camera and the operator and stuff. So
Oh,
maybe
okay.
maybe that's it. There's also this weird thing that they do with the character of Eli, where there's like this one scene that I really don't understand what happens, because when the girls first come up, there's this cutaway to Eli of a reaction shot of him like turning and like seeing something and like having this like, I don't know exactly what it is, like embarrassed or like this worried expression, and I cannot parse what is meant. Is it like, oh no, the girl, we were just talking about how embarrassing it was that Scott lost to the girls and now the girls are here, or oh, we're going to be emasculated from our inability to earn money. It's very
Lenny
odd.
is one of the more confusing characters in this because he has like almost no personality. He has almost no characterization. He's just kind of there, and yeah, he's not really a source of any solutions. He's not a source of really any problems, but it's just yeah, it's a very odd thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Representation for the bland friend out there, I guess.
yeah, especially because there is, at least at the beginning of the movie, sort of set up almost a, not even a rivalry between, but just some sort of resentment between Eldon and Scott, that he would be, because literally some of his first lines in the movie is him kind of trying to be like a peacemaker, and it's like, if that were his role, let that be his role. Scott's like, I'm the leader, we should do what I want, and Eldon is like, but I also have ideas, and then Lenny's like, hey, why don't we try, sort of a reluctant being like, I think Scott's idea is better or whatever. Like, there's stuff that
Oh,
you could do with
we
it.
should listen to Eldon, but yeah, yeah, no, no, I totally see.
Anyway, then we cut to both one of the funniest scene. After that scene, we have one of the funniest, but also in a lot of ways, I think one of the most disappointing scenes in the movie, which is the two henchmen, which we looked up their names in the credits, and I don't like them. So I'm calling them Alberto and Castillo, because as you're saying, they're basically Albert and Costello.
I see what you
Them
did there.
breaking into the junior high school where this valuable document is being stored, and just everything about like, again, like I said last time, my biggest complaint about this movie is it feels like wasted potential, and what this scene feels like is, guys, that was great, that was funny, can we do one more take and try to like get the timing a little bit better? So yeah, the problem with this scene is they keep doing things that's like, oh, I see what they were trying to do, but there's something, it's not quite right, the timing doesn't quite line up, there's something a little wrong about it, that was like, just okay, do it again, but don't don't see the donut, don't sit down and look at the donut and then look to the side and then find the donut again. Like, this is also yeah, because that's something that I was just like, what do you want? It's a bad movie. There's some fundamentally unfunny people. These guys, like the two hench people, these are Meldovar's henchmen, are very funny, but when they're being directed or filmed by someone who doesn't like get like timing or whatever, or someone with an eye of like, hey, you know what, that doesn't quite work because why are you like when they finally find the map, we get to a close up of one of them with the map on its little tray that had been stuck in this pin, and he's literally like picking up the pins that aren't stuck into anything and just like he's like sifting through them when the map is sitting right there, to be like, okay, were they just filming him like, because they of course bumbling henchmen, they're like, oh, it's dark and there's all this crap everywhere, how do we find the map? And so what I think was happening is he was like looking, he's like, where's the map, where's the map, where's the map, pushing stuff to the side, oh, here's the map, but all they used was him picking up things that are sitting right next to the, not
Tiny
even right next
little
to,
things. You know what? You know what I'm wondering is happening. Because the first movie was 90% kids being in there, and like these are kids movies. It makes sense or something because we really like the henchmen when they're interacting with each other. Like they're more serious actors. Not even serious isn't the right word because, but like I bet directors who only direct kids probably find it a little weird working with adults who know what to do in a scene. So when they need them to do something specific, the director's probably right there. It's like, mess with the stuff on the thing. There you go. Okay, now pick up the map. And then you come over behind and you know what I mean? When they're just sitting there arguing,
mm,
like they have like a back and forth that you don't see anywhere else in the thing. And what's his name?
Ameldavar.
Ameldavar, sorry. Ameldavar is like acting by himself. So he's kind of just like, and do your thing. And he knows how to like chew up the scenery because it's compelling like that. But it would be interesting if that's sort of a side effect of this first movie clearly being the director telling all of like the few actors they have and then the children of the producers that they had to bring on set on the one day
Right, right. Just
what
go
to
do your
do.
thing, and they're like, we'll find it in the edit. But yeah, I mean, this is a classic bumbling henchman scene, doing where there's this these weird stunts that they do, like they're coming through a grate, which like they come through a grate in the wall almost at the ceiling, which like I'm willing to allow for the, yeah, there's grates that are big enough for adult men to crawl through, sort of a thing. But this grate is literally, there's the door jamb and then the grate begins, which means it's right on the other side of the wall. The grate is like in the hallway, not up in the
Yeah, no,
it would be
it's the air grate between the thing. It's not like, and you know why they did that was because those might be genuinely that big so people can get through them if the door got locked or barricaded or something. But it is like, they're like, some people crawl out of air conditioning ducts and they're like, don't fuck with the air conditioning. Like we're not paying
we're
people
gonna
to go
build
up in
one
there and fix
fake wall with a 3.5 foot by 3.5 foot square duct in it, so you guys can come through.
the
Also,
most
just
well ventilated classroom.
something just totally wild. In the next day, when people are examining the crime scene, they find the fat henchman's pants, which he has
What?
they
I
pull
missed that.
they pull a bit, somebody is up on a chair or a table and pulls a giant, and a comedically large pair of pants, because the larger henchman gets stuck in the grate and they have to pull him off and then they fall and ha ha ha.
He can't be chasing the children without pants on.
Right, exactly. In the
That's
next scene, he's running around after the kids who grabbed the map from him. But yeah, so it's wild. It's wild. She's apparently wearing double pants. Just these repeated things where it's also like, oh, this was really cheaply done. When they pull them out of the grate and fall, one of them falls onto a display that has a bunch of cactuses, where we never see him falling. We literally see him like stumble, and then we get a POV camera shot that just is like they're just like pushing in on the cactus, and then
oh.
we hear the boink and woo.
What was
This is
that sound
probably
effect again? I know it has a technical name, but
Poink! Woo! I don't know. Shut up. So in the school, they of course they find the map and because they're stealing it for Ameldevar. And one of them bumps, doing their bumbling thing. They bump into something, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens, but it's all like visual gags. Okay, we get it. There is a bison head somehow sitting, and a hollow bison head sitting on top of a cabinet that one of them bumps into, and it falls and lands on his head. And then, blind and unable to communicate, he starts running around with his head covered, and the other one sees it and gets scared, and they run away. And then we're treated to a scene of Jesse and Margaret, who are walking outside of the school in the middle of the night. Where the
At
hell?
midnight.
Yeah, it's completely dark outside. And they have this weird little start of a conversation that like almost like goes somewhere interesting, because Jesse's like, hey, Margaret, I don't something I don't get. You're always sometimes you seem like you really like that Scott. And she's like, well, yeah, of course I like him. It's like, no, like a boyfriend. She's like, I guess. Then I was like, oh, but then you, as we just the last scene that they were in, they were like mocking the boys for all this stuff. That's where I thought they were going, but no, Jesse just goes, ew, boys are gross. They do such stupid things. And Margaret goes, like what? At which point the henchmen come running out of the school, one of them like a minotaur chasing the other. Except this is another one of those scenes where I'm like, the timing doesn't quite work. The girls are clearly sitting there waiting for the henchmen to run out. And so I was like, can we get another take? Can be like, hey, can you guys slow your lines down? Or can
It's
we
like
signal?
it's like the ideas are there. And again, like my ultimate takeaway from this is it's a pretty good movie. It's not in my Criterion collection. I think it's a good movie.
I think it could be beyond a decent movie with some little tweaks, like somebody with a little bit of an eye for comedy, for more of an eye for comedy, which is also funny because later there are a couple jokes that are absolutely perfect in their like execution, and there's a pause, but not too much of a pause. I mean, Eldon later has a thing where he's sitting on a rope bridge, and he literally has like a perfect Looney Tunes moment where someone goes, "Hey, is it gonna hold?" And he looks up and goes, "Nope." Snap. Like, and it's like I like watched it a couple times. I'm like, that, like, no notes. That's great.
Yeah.
Someone, and that's even a tricky thing because he's like, well, I suppose there's probably some sort of trick of the camera, because we don't necessarily have to see, or like the editor like was able to assemble this joke in the timing of everything, because the rope drops, we see him drop, and then we cut to seeing him it's like somebody actually falling into a raging river. And I'm like, cool, so somebody who had a hand on this one knows how jokes are supposed to work. So it's like, what's
How
going
little
on?
material are they working with if these are some of the final cuts
If
when
that is the best take that you
occasionally
had.
there's a good one? It's not
Yeah.
the editor missing the good jokes from dozens of takes. And again, low budget movie. What do you want?
The henchmen run out, and then the girls see that one of them has the map, and so they grab the map and run. While and then one of the henchmen chases them, and perhaps the most perplexing thing that happens in the whole movie, because the girls are running and they're being chased, and then they kind of like swerve around a dumpster that's sitting there, and what I originally thought was, oh, the big henchman is so uncoordinated, he can't turn fast enough, and he runs into the dumpster and knocks himself out. At which points the girls stop, turn around slowly, walk, 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 walk. Ooh, ow, ooh, that's gonna smart, because kind of a moment. At which point Eldon peeks from behind the dumpster, and I think what we're supposed to believe is that they were being chased, and Eldon pushed the dumpster in front of him, but that is not communicated at all.
Oh.
And the very weird thing of Eldon, because I mean, it's not that tall of a dumpster, and Eldon is a decently tall child. So he's not standing there being like I say, like got him or something. He's crouching behind the dumpster because 15 seconds after the impact, he finally peeks around the dumpster.
There's something must have been cut because again, it just feels like the kind of thing where they could have been like, "Whew, we got away from there." And if Eldon just was there or was suddenly in the scene, he'd be like, "Hey guys, that classic thing of, "Woo, we're safe." You get kind of a mini jump scare.
Even a close up of Eldon like putting his shoulder into it, you know. Yeah, we'll get to some other ways in which Eldon is characterized, but yeah, yeah. Needless to say, there's a little bit of a chase scene. Oh yeah, because Eldon has a skateboard, which we never see him using. The Buttercream Gang are very canonically bike kids. Like, so why does he has a skateboard? Oh, he has it
You're a
because he
biker
needs to
gang.
abandon. He has to abandon it at the bottom, the skateboard at the bottom of the stairs, so the second henchman can slip on it and knock himself out.
Jacobian skateboard.
Yeah, you've got to put a skate. Somebody rented a skateboard. We're gonna use it in the movie. Damn it! Or the only way we explain how these little children, ages like 11 through 13, managed to knock out two adult men. Then the next scene, they have moved these men and tied them up
With like a shoelace.
with one
Isn't it a
shoelace
shoelace?
between them, and the only reason there's any tension is because there's like it's like a railing on a staircase, and they're sitting, but they have like
Like
screeched
they're in stock.
themselves.
They're sitting there like they're in stocks, basically. But they're too tall, so their arms are kind of down here, or down like at their waist almost, with like a
Only
single
one of each of
thread.
their arms is they are tied together by a shoelace, one of their arms to the other, and because they're sitting far away, it's like stretched out, and there's like some tension on it that's like, oh, they can't get away. No, but you know what they can do? Reach over with your untied hand and untie the simple butterfly knot that you've done to get it. They have a little. Eldon is sort of, kind of magnanimous in the we're not going to call the police. We're going to leave them even though Jesse goes, they're going to get away. And I'm sitting there going like, yeah, thank you, Jesse. They're going to
Yeah,
get
in
away.
like 2 seconds.
But this is where we talked about it last time, how so sort of the backstory with the henchmen and Ameldevar is hundreds of years ago, Ameldevar's ancestor made their ancestors promise to serve his family. At which point, when these characters are introduced, they're like, they have served my family for generations, and I'm like, that's a weird thing to tell some American children in the 1990s, that you have indentured servants. And we talked about it last time, how like this is the time when we should have learned that, to be like, whoa, this is weird. Ameldevar is like a weird dude because that he has indentured servants. That's we as Americans in the 1990s should be against that kind of thing, at least in theory. Like this is where we should, because I mean they do say that we have to do what Ameldevar says. Which now I'm just going back because I was like, yeah, well, they needed to they sort of needed this plausible deniability, but no, they explicitly say we are doing this because Ameldevar told us to, and we have to serve Ameldevar because our ancestors swore an oath. Eldon gives them a little whoosh, try doing something good for a change, and then walks away. The next scene is the Buttercream Gang minus Eldon investigating the crime scene, where they were like, what happened? That's where they find the pants. Uncle Science Nerd is looking at a Twinkie wrapper with a magnifying glass, just so we know that he's a nerd. And then Eldon walks in, like very I don't know, felt very West Wingy. In the middle of someone's like, what would they want with a map? And Eldon walks in with a map, or what would they want with a farming plot? And Eldon then walks in the room in a turtleneck and goes, what if it wasn't a farming plot? And at which point no one goes, oh shit, the map. Like nobody mentions the fact that, Eldon, why do you have the map? Oh, that's what they were going after. It's like either they know that the map's been taken or they don't. Either way, Eldon's showing up with the
What would they
actual
be
map.
investigating? Like, what would they be investigating if not one of the three kids who saw it going and saying, "Hey, these guys were breaking into the elementary school and we stopped them."
Yeah, surely when science guy showed up and was like, hey, Butter, get down here. There's been a break-in. Get me the Buttercream Gang or whatever. Wouldn't Eldon have been involved? And he'd be like, "Oh, it's so cool. I got the map." But anyway, so they come in and they go, "Oh, I." It's like he's like, "I've got a feeling that this is actually a map." Ameldevar actually shows up and is like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like I made a mistake, and my henchmen were not acting inside of my orders," which everybody but Eldon basically buys. At which point Ameldevar takes out another part of the map. Is I believe this is where they realize that they don't have half of a map. They each have a third of the map, and where the final third
Yeah.
is sort of what kind of really launches the treasure hunt into high gear, because now it's time for us to find the other third of the map. They're like, oh, we can sort of recognize this mountain, so it's got to be up there somewhere. At which point we have another thing that is again emblematic of what is weird about the way that this movie views the character of Eldon, because there's a small part we have sort of established that Eldon is the fat kid of the group. You know, he's the tallest, arguably the largest, but Lenny is also. It's not like they're all scrawny and then there's Eldon. It's like
I think in the first movie he was both big and he was tall and bigger than them. But in this one, it's like the other kids have gotten bigger too. And
yeah,
I mean in both directions. They've gotten taller and wider. But
yeah.
it is just
Lenny and
like
Eldon to me look like they're basically the same size,
and
but
and genuinely the movie is conveying this. Like in the first movie, Eldon uses his size to like block a door and then like cannonballs a man at one point to like
yeah,
completely incapacitate him.
the movie this whole the series of the Buttercream Game movies are telling us Eldon is a fat kid, and one of the there's a couple other times in the movie where they do that, where they're getting supplies ready to go scour the mountain for treasure, and someone was like, "Wait, who got food?" At which point Eldon unzips his bag and it's like two party-sized things of Fritos or whatever, which a is kind of ridiculous. Like these are kids who like they spend time, like these are not like city kids being like, I got a bunch of Twinkies. That's food, right? They're not
I
little
got
kids. These are
two bags of hot Cheetos, family size. We're good
also
for a
just
week.
just to mention it. There's a point later where Eldon is finally going on the treasure hunt. And he's trying to go by himself, and everyone's like trying to talk him out of it about all these things that could happen to him, and he's like, "I doesn't matter. It doesn't care. I gotta do this." And then someone suggests that he might starve to death. At which point he goes, "Starve?" And we're like, "Okay, thank you for reestablishing Eldon's prescribed role in this group." But yeah, they just have a general idea of going up into the mountains to look for treasure, which it's kind of later that we get this. Like again, this is a well-known legend, and several different people have said, "Yeah, when I was a kid, I can tell you how much time I spent up in the um I spent up in those hills looking for the fabled buried treasure." So it's like it's not like no, they don't know that this is a thing that people have tried and not succeeded about, which is again
Let's see,
weird because
Eldon is willing to climb at least 15 feet up the side of the thing.
un,
He's a little more
unprecedented.
daring than
Eldon free solos that one boulder over there.
Friso.
Another sort of weird thing where the uncle shows up and then seems surprised that they're like taking this treasure hunt seriously. At which point he goes, "Guess what?" He goes, "I just drove by Mr. Graff's house to come and see you boys, apparently. And he was outside painting. Someone should really go and help him." I'm like, "So fucking stop and help him, you jackass." Like
Yeah.
the Buttercream Gang is not a career, is not a profession or an assigned role. It's a volunteer group that are like, and they sort of have this sort of debate about whether we should we go look for the treasure or should we help him with something more immediate. And Eldon and Eli decide to go and help Mr. Graff paint, and the other boys, I guess, go and search for treasure.
Which is the scene again where they are like, "Oh, Eldon, Imagine having divided interests or like whatever. Like, is this a bad thing or is it a good thing? Make up your mind.
A two-pronged approach. Like, yeah, there's a long shot, and then there's a, well, if we don't get, well, the house will look nicer and he'll get more money from it, and also he might not have a second heart attack because he's a sick man trying to paint an entire house by
Which makes it
himself.
even more. Totally forgot that it was because of a heart attack, which makes it more ridiculous that the other guy didn't like immediately stop and is like, "Get indoors. We'll find people to do this for you.
I will
Knock
be
it
back.
off."
I'm gonna go grab the Buttercreamers. We'll be right back. Sit your ass down
I
and
need you to stop using. I don't accept the terminology of buttercreamers. Just call them the Buttercream Gang. You're getting too
Buttercreamers.
You're getting too comfortable with that word, and I hate it.
This movie's both of these movies theme song has been stuck in my head for the last two
Oh, you
goddamn
poor
weeks.
thing. You
I
need to listen
I
to better music.
I have to listen to more music, of course, in the because this is a very this kind of movie. Going to help Mr. Graff is both the right thing to do and actually ends up solving the mystery because Mr. Graff putters and does his old man thing, but Eldon's like, we have a map. Then he walks over to this dirty old house that they're painting to a pile of crap and grabs the ancient map that's just sitting there. Like, A, the map's not with the people actually hunting the treasure, and B, it's a 600 or a 400-year-old map that you just have sitting on a pile of old lumber by the side of the paint cans. And he goes, we've got a map. And he shows it to Mr. Graff. And Mr. Graff recognizes a symbol on it. And he goes, this looks very familiar. This is from, I know this symbol from the crate of honeys that I get from the monks of Santa Ynez.
I did some deep research onto that cross right in there. One, because I thought it was, I think it's the St. James cross is specifically the Templar cross. Anyway, you
Mm.
want to waste a lot of time on it is, look up, believe it or not, Christianity's used a lot of different crosses over the years. Um, this overlaps with my interest because there is an army, there is a Templar army in 40K that I am all that in Warhammer 40K that I'm. It's something like the bars of the cross are flat, but if the bars in the cross like go into two spikes, that is specifically like a hate, like recognized as a hate symbol. If it's flat,
Ooh.
it's fine, which the Templar cross or the Black Templar cross is. Anyway, I couldn't find anything about this being anything specific. The
I
crosses are
mean,
all really elaborate. It's a generic circle with a flat cross in it. It might as well just be X marks the spot.
there's a
But
slight flaring of the edges. We are not symbologists or cantors or something. We don't know what that is.
I
But
really
yeah,
wanted there to be something deeper there, like it was like some story about some Templar, some Knight Templar, you know, joining forces with Joseph Smith, and this would be some kind of like wink and the nod to people who knew the history of LDS. I could not find anything about that.
so they go to what I think is probably the most impressive set in this entire. If it's a set, I assume it's not actually a set. I assume it's like a location of this whole thing, which is a kind of a I don't know exactly what you would call it, but like an Adobe feeling monastery to see a literal like robed and bearded monk who is also probably my second favorite actor in the whole movie.
Oh,
He's
he's
got a
great. He has an
he's got a good
awesome voice.
gravitas. All the scenes that he has with the actor who plays him Eldevar are great and stuff. But the boys go to this like abandoned monastery, just sort of wander in and are like, "Hey, what's going on? We're here for the treasure." And the monk is like, all right, come with me. This is the part where I originally was like, okay, here's where we get to sort of more of a moral core, because we sort of established Eldon is looking for treasure, but he is implicitly, explicitly, very for sure, he is not in this for money for himself. He doesn't want to get rich, even for, as an afterthought of, we'll help Mr. Graff and set ourselves up with pay for our college or be able to get new bikes or
Walking
anything like
around
that.
money.
Yeah, yeah. There's none of that. He is 100% in this to find the treasure to help Mr. Graff. That's great. And then what is sort of set up as perhaps his flaw that we are like waiting to see if it actually shows up is that he is interested in glory. He complains about not being as good as Scott at all of these things. He has their literal fantasy sequences where he is being exalted and Scott is all bummed that Eldon found the
I thought you were going to
treasure.
use the language and say debased right there.
Debased because the whole conversation, of course, this order of monks knows about the treasure and actually has the last
Who
part of the map.
opened directly to Luke.
That's
No,
funny.
it wasn't Luke 14, but it was close.
So this guy starts talking to them and is like, "And why do you wish to find the treasure?" And they sort of explain it. Yeah, because at one point they have to kind of explain the concept of being buttercreamers to sorry, but that's the language they're using in this scene. They're like, "Well, we're butter." He's like, "Of many, like there's a terrible curse on the gold," which we're like, "Oh, okay, this is kind of the first we're really explicitly hearing about." And Eli goes, "Oh, what kind of curse?" And he puts his arm around the kid and he goes, "The most dangerous of curses." And I was like, you're gonna have to more details. This isn't like a thing that we encounter in our day to day lives. Like, oh yeah, yeah, those
Oh,
dangerous curses.
I didn't realize it was a dangerous curse. I thought it was a chill
And
curse.
he's like lots of yeah. You stub your toe every time you spend one of the doubloons, kind of a curse. So that he's like a great so many have died in pursuit of the treasure. And then he's kind of given the priest is given all these general platitudes about like no, oh greed, yeah, here we go again, more greedy people. And he's like, yeah, but we're buttercreamers, we're not like how can this be dangerous to us because we're like good people, it can't be dangerous, it's dangerous even to buttercreamers. And then he turns and he goes, especially to buttercreamers, which is sort of weird. But then I was like, oh, it's kind of going to be one of those. Ameldevar is very much a mustache twirling, wahaha, I get some money out of this. But, sort of a bigger lesson is what about people who are searching for treasure? Or, trying to do it's the ends justify the means kind of a thing was what I thought they were going to go, because it's like why or the glory that comes with it, because again that's what Eldon explicitly wants out of this, not the money but the glory. To be like, but there's more to the treasure than just the dollars and cents that it converts into. There's like the perils of doing the right things for the wrong reasons or the wrong things for the right reasons, sort of a thing. Because then we get the priest tells this parable, which I have to say is so confusing because it is shot in a very interesting way. It is this long, continuous shot where our focus changes and the framing of the characters, it just gets all around here. And I'm oh, like just as a piece of art, this is very interesting in the service of a bonkers parable. So he starts. It's the parable of the cobbler. Oh yeah, that right. Because then Eldon goes, peach cobbler. We're like, and the priest goes, oh, I get it, kid. You're the fat one.
We get it.
It's a story about a selfless person who was told he's going to get a great reward. And the priest literally says, the meeting of our Lord and Master. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to say. Why are you saying it like that? Does he mean God or Jesus? But this is not a story from the Bible as far as I know. So at first I thought they were like, we need to have this shoehorned parable that sort of slightly admonishes Eldon, or that Eldon misunderstands now and understands later. Because I know for a lot of Christian and Christian adjacent things, like making up a part of the Bible is like a big no-no. Like there's like the
Yeah.
official parts, there's the canonical Bible, and then. So I was like, oh, so they're saying that because they needed this parable, but they didn't want to make one up and make it sort of a priest is telling you a story, and it's implied it's from the Bible, and this is not from the Bible, so we can't say it was Jesus that he was going to see. But then later, he is in this parable, he is told by God that because he misses his chance to meet the our Lord and Master, whoever the fuck that is, because he's busy helping people, and he gets a better reward. I don't even remember if it's actually said what the reward is, but it's like, oh, you did something good, and I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with? It's like, okay, I think I kind of get it. It's like, don't be focused on the reward, focus on doing good, sort of a thing, which then Eldon misunderstands, but he like misunderstands in the wrong way, because this is trying to tell you that you will receive your reward by doing good things, which Eldon is already doing. This is so
It's what it's so weird because it does sit here. It sits on the cusp of being this really big brain thing, where like a, a version of this story exists where they're sitting there struggling with the decisions of, is it worth our time and effort to go hunting for treasure to try to help this person? Should we just help him with these little things? Should we help him paint his house, or do we like? But again, it doesn't. There could not be an. They frame it like there's an ultimate right answer, but there kind of isn't, and it doesn't work out either way. There's just money just kind of appears. It's very strange, and again, it feels like there's a core of this that could be a really interesting moral story, that it's about that you need to not just kind of mindlessly do the best thing at every opportunity. Like, that's not so easy to pick out. But the movie is so black, feels like it's trying to make this be so black and white when I don't think it is. I think that's the complicated version of that's a complicated message that it's then trying to simplify, is that there are different, yeah, it's what could be a really good moral message of, there's more to life than just doing because again, it's yeah, what do you help Mr. Graff paint his house? I'm sorry, I've said the same thing like twice now, but
yeah, no,
do you
no, that's
help
fine.
Mr. Graff, let me cook, no, just, do you help Mr. Graff paint his house so we can sell it and make a little extra money now, or do you abandon these little jobs to go try to find the treasure? Like, I think there's a better choice, which is probably to. I mean, again, I guess I don't even know what the.
Yeah, because it's not framed as a there could be more than one right answer to this. I mean, both in the movie and like systemically in a religion like this, like it's like there's has to be a right answer. Like it just keeps falling apart. We haven't even gotten to Eldon beautiful minding a map. We haven't gotten to the Indiana Jones whitewater rafting adventure. We haven't gotten to the mummy's tomb that they visit, because holy crap, there's so much to talk about this movie. But we're gonna have to make this a three-parter, because I don't want to miss any of the
And I
creamy
don't
nuggets
want to
of
miss
this.
a thing.
So yeah, we're definitely, we have to finish this. I can't have this theme song stuck in my head for another week. We're gonna finish this next time. In the meantime, please like and subscribe. The podcast is available on Spotify and iTunes. Leave us reviews. Yeah, you want to say nice thing about one of us. One of us. It doesn't have to be both.
Say nice things about one of us, and then mean things about the other, and then
Yeah,
have someone else do the other. Yeah, pit us against each other.
exactly. Let's cause a schism. If you care for video versions of the podcast, it's available on YouTube at Talking to Tomato, and occasionally clips get posted maybe to TikTok at Talking to Tomato, and we also have our personal TikToks. I am Eric.Eberly.
And I'm Titan of Joy on TikTok.
See you later, screamers and creamers.
Oh man, that's a bummer. During Pride Month.
Sorry. Do I need to redo that? Do that for right?
No. No,
Stay.
leave it in. Leave it in as a learning, as a warning to others.
This is a learning experience.